Okay, hi everyone. Um, Back again. So here I am I'm going to try to repeat what I did at the convention, which is always so not easy because I can't do anything exactly the same twice. It's just not possible for me. When I cook something for you, I always say, if you like it, eat it, because you're never getting it again, because I have no idea what I did. So anyway, that's kind of the way I live my life, I guess. So the only part, everything's going to be extemporaneous except for this beginning. And this is what's really important. My topic today is to play with intention, but without expectations. So much of our life we live with expectations. We expect something to turn out the way we want it. We expect our life to go the way we planned it. That so seldom happens that it really is amazing to me that we still expect those things. So I want you to change your attitude towards your painting life and instead play with intention, but without expectations. Set a goal. Maybe it's to explore a technique. Today, you're just going to explore what it's like to paint with the different pace that we could have, or the different mediums that we could use, like soft gel, or medium hard gel, or gloss gel. Maybe you're going to add that to your watercolor, see what happens. That's all you need to expect to do today. That is, your intention is to learn what that stuff does. So that's just an example. So set a goal. The goal is to explore and find out what those mediums do. Maybe it's to explore a technique or learn something new. Maybe it's just to relax and enjoy. Maybe today you've had such a stressful week. Maybe you just want to play. That's your goal. Make sure you designate it as your goal. I want to play. That doesn't allow for, I want this to be a contest-worthy painting. Don't get to have both of them. Okay. Ask yourself often, what would happen if I did this? The whole time you're playing today, ask yourself that question over and over again. What would happen if I did this? And then find out. Because your goal today, your intention, is to learn something new. Remember, there's no expected outcome. You're supposed to play, learn something new, and enjoy yourself. If you feel uncertain or you get stuck, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. Draw circles, color them. Anything that helps you move forward, that's what you get to do today, because it doesn't have to turn out. For me, this is a very difficult thing because I expect myself to be perfect all the time. And it's amazing how many times I'm wrong. So you can be wrong too. Couple of things. I made a book. This is just a regular Fabriano notebook or sketchbook. You could paint in it. Oops, excuse me, that's a little low. So I made some templates because I don't like to just have things every which way. So I made a template. This is the square and this is the rectangle. Then what I did is I went through my book as needed, and I drew a line around this square, or rectangle rather. And then I had a nice frame, and I put my art that I was going to do, whatever that would be, inside of that. It seemed less careless, less. The square, well, when I get to the squares, I'll show you, but I have squares and I have rectangles, and I've made them throughout, and then I draw within them. That's my need for organization. Okay, here on this one, I decided that I was going to make doodles. And doodles and lines. That was something that would help me loosen up. It was something I could play with. So I took a stencil because I didn't know, I'm not loose enough to just start doodling. I criticized myself too much. So what I did instead is I took a stencil and I drew the stencil on here. I can lift this up so you can see the drawing of the stencil. Okay, then I started coloring, and painting, and I just colored, I put water in each space, and then I dropped color into it, the different pigments into it. And then as I was going, I decided that I would make it into sort of a rainbow, but I kept making decisions and then acting on those decisions. There was no goal in the first place. It was trying to be loose. Here's another one. Yeah, I'm just going to hold this down here. Here's another one you can see. Okay. And another, this one is diagonals. I'll fill those in. I don't know exactly how I'm going to fill them in yet because I haven't gotten that far and I don't want to have a plan. All right, this one, I took a stencil and I went on this part and then I made the black, filled it in with the black ink. And then I thought, well, I don't know what to do with the rest, but I'll just make lines. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 lines, which left 7 spaces. That was all I did that day. And the next day I thought, well, now what am I going to put in those stupid lines, those spaces? And I realized that I was going to put the elements of design in it because there's 7 elements of design and there were 7 spaces. So I wrote in the 7 elements: color, line, space, shape, form, texture. I wrote those in and then I thought, well, now should I just write? Like over here, I have the words describing what those are. And then I thought, no, I'm going to paint what they are. So I did. And this is really a good exercise because it helped me. I had to make an example of it. It worked well for me. And it was fun. All right, over here, I made these lines. I'm going to paint another color in here. I made red down this side, blue down that side, and then I put yellow over both of them. I can see the yellow in its clarity here. I can see what yellow over red looks like here. I can see what yellow over this particular blue would look like right here. It was just exploring my colors, my paints, my hues. In this one, I mingled paint together, a bunch of different colors, and made a pair. I'm having fun doing this. Here, let's see, I drew these lines, just random lines, and then I started painting it. And I also drew more lines in, kind of doodling, because remember, that's the section of the book that we're in. Then I took it a step further and I did this one. I'm trying to teach myself abstract, and I need to start having non-objective abstract. Okay, so I need to have this as freedom to head me in that direction. Okay, negative painting is also really good for your for your mind and for practicing your painting. Here is a picture of trees, and I will do them similar to the one that I did back over here, where I dropped color in and started to make a rainbow. This is negative painting again. This one was crazy. I just made a real mess and I hated it. So what am I going to do with this? And I thought, I will negative paint. This can become a fruit basket. So here's the basket. Here's some leaves I threw in there. And then I'm started to make grapes. Okay. In this, take some triangles. I have these. They're little shapes. When I teach negative painting, one thing I do is I will take these cardboard shapes that I've cut out and I will have my students just take these shapes. I guess there's no triangles in this box, but I will have my students take these and just trace around them like the triangles you see here. And then you don't paint the first one, but then if it's under the first one, it becomes number 2. If it's under the first one and the second one, it becomes number 3. And then 4 is under 1, 2, and 3. So that's level 4. And then 5 is under all of them. And 6 is the background and under, of course, everything. You paint the second layer. The entire thing is now this color with just these 3 number 1s as white. Then you paint number 3, a darker color, and you paint the entire thing with that color. So you've got 1 layer, 2 layers, 3rd layer. I have not done the 4th, 5th, and 6th layers on this yet, but you get the idea. That's really fun to practice your negative painting. And you say, well, I'm probably never going to make a picture like that. But this one is negative painting,
Beautiful.
entire negative painting. And it's the same process, exactly. Another thing I love to do is get very analytical about my colors. Because if you don't know your supplies, then you don't know how to use your supplies. This is a paper that you can get from almost every manufacturer of paint. It shows all the colors that they make. This one happens to be from Holbein. But the most important thing that it shows, a second, try not to be sick. Okay, right here, there is a code. And this code, here, I'll show you this one on the quinacridone magenta. You can see that it says TSHI. If you look up here, the T is transparent, the H is hard to lift, the S is staining. Where is it? Yeah, here it is, staining. And the I is intense. You can see the 3 dots. Let's see what's right there. Okay, and the 3 dots mean that it's absolutely permanent. By knowing what happens, you can understand what you can do with your paints. If you understand your paints, if you're going to lift something, you know that in your painting you're going to lift off certain areas to get back to the white or even just back to a lesser color. You certainly don't want to use a staining color, because I just think it's really important to know what your colors are. And for me, I am a mostly transparent artist. I am starting now to branch out into gouaches and acrylic and other mediums. But in the beginning, I was told early on that if you paint only with transparent, you'll never get mud. And that's very true for me. Here's another thing that I use, another little detail that I use for, I made this out of watercolor paper. I made this my own little template. I put 3 colors up here. I put a 4th color down here. And then I take this color and put 75% of this color in this space and 25% in this one. And then I go to 50-50, and then I go to 75 of this one and 25 of that one. And I end up getting 3 brand new colors out of these 2. So now I have 5 colors. And I'll do that the same thing with this one and the same thing with this one. It's a really fun way to see what colors you can mix out of a limited palette. This one here, I use as, if I don't want to get one of those papers that tell me whether or not my paint is transparent, I can just do this. I can take a line, magic marker, a marker of some sort. Anyway, you put that there and paint over the top of it with your different colors. And if you can see, the orange is still visible on top of the black line. So is the green. The white is a little bit. Let's see. The light blue is not that much. Anyway, if it shows on the top, the color still shows it's semi-transparent or it's opaque. If it's clear and the black line shines through beautifully, it's a totally transparent paint. Over here, what I did, push this here, is different texturing mediums. Like it could be salt, it could be wax paper, it could be saran wrap, all the different ways. But I make it so that it is this way so I can see what they are, and then I usually label them and put them in a book so I know what's going on. This is an example of this. Okay. Mingling hard and soft edges. This is an excellent thing to do. It's so much fun.
Turn it the other way, Susan.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right. See, these are mingled colors, but they're also dark against light and light against dark. If you take and you draw out 6 pairs, you can just trace it, make it once and then just trace that several times. Then make each one different. And you're exploring colors, you're exploring values, and you're exploring mingling of your colors. Anna Epcot taught me that word, mingling, long time ago. She was my first instructor. All right, figures. I love to paint people and I love to paint animals, especially birds, though. I really like them a lot. So something that's really fun for me is just draw a small one and paint that today. I'm not making a big painting. I'm just painting a subject that I enjoy. Here are those triangle or squares that I told you. This side is a big rectangle, and this I have 2 squares that are for smaller paintings. Okay, let's see what's, okay, I get what that is. Maybe I'm only feeling up to drawing something like this today. Maybe I'm going to paint this in different colors. Maybe I'm just going to make circles and turn them into birds, or just ovals and turn them into, cats or dogs. It doesn't matter. I'm just playing and having fun. Now, here's another one. This is something else that I do that I think is a lot of fun. Is I go through magazines and I find like this woman. Okay, ever had to practice drawing hands? Go find hands and then draw their hands. Draw their face, draw the hat, draw hair. This would be good for practicing drawing hair. You don't have to draw the whole person. Here's another good practice for hands. Another thing this is good for, and I'll show you, back a little further, is to draw her hair. Here it is right here. Take that stick, take a picture, put in the shoulders, the elbows, the wrist, the knees, the torso, the entire leg. Just draw the circles and the lines that attach. So if you wanted to take this woman, you would put in circle, 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 hand, and then the fingers. And you would end up having something like this. That I just have that. Here it is. Something like this that you can, because I'm doing it on tracing paper, but I would have this now. I have somebody who is holding the shape that I want. Sometimes you can get people to pose in the way you want them, but sometimes you just want to add a figure to something and you want them standing or sitting in a certain way. A lot of times you can find that pose in a magazine and then do this. Now, what I've often done is I will take a really thin person. As a matter of fact, you do not want me to take a picture of you, because if I'm going to paint you, you're going to gain a lot of weight. or you're going to lose a lot of weight, because almost everybody that I paint or draw ends up either being puffy or pleated. So either have lots of wrinkles or you are a larger person. This person is already large. I would love drawing and painting her. Don't know why. I just like to exaggerate things. Landscape is something that is not my thing. So I need to practice it. This right here is a photograph that I took. I think that's in there. Yeah. It's a photograph that I took on one of our trips. And rocks, water, and trees are something that are just a nightmare for me. I just don't get them. So I've drawn my rocks out on here, and I will practice painting those rocks. Trees, bushes, greenery. I'm a city girl. That stuff makes me nervous anyway. I like concrete. So another thing is little paintings. Just make very small paintings. There's not a lot of pressure when the painting is very small. Here is some more. Okay. I recently became a whiskey painter. So I started painting small, but the reason I wanted to become a whiskey painter, which is this really fabulous art group or society that is in the United States. And if you watched the confab earlier this year, Jackie told us all about whiskey painters. And anyway, painting small like this is just so much fun. It's just, I love it. It's a great way to learn things, and it's a great way to take the pressure off, and you can make some really great paintings. Here's something else to get you started. Maybe you want to practice values, okay, or value studies. Here is, I guess that's my painting. Okay, here's the photograph, somebody else's photograph, and then their painting on top of it. Actually, I have the photograph in here somewhere. But then this is their painting. They have their photograph, then their painting. I'm trying to learn. I want to practice values. I'm not painting a picture that is going to go into a contest. I want to learn. So I made a black and white copy. And then I've had a value study. I traced it onto my tracing paper. And I'm in the process of painting. It isn't necessarily the same, but doesn't have to be the same. I'm making it look the way I want it to look. And I'm learning more about values and what works and what doesn't work. And it's perfectly legal. The old artists copied the old masters over and over again to learn. Here's a drawing. Here's someone else's painting. And if I could read the title, I would tell you, but I don't, I mean the name on it, but I can't. So here is my painting of their painting. It's different, but I'm learning. Here's architectural. I love this house. I saw this house in a magazine, printed it out, and painted it. Because it was just fun to do. Wouldn't you love to live in that house? Here is another painting by someone else. Excuse me. My drawing, and my drawing includes the dotted lines that shows where the shadows are. See all those shadows? I was practicing doing shadows this day. Here's what my drawing on the paper ended up looking like. And here's what my painting ended up looking like. And you can still see the dotted lines because this isn't going into a show. This was me mingling paint together in the shape of the shadows and trying to understand in a colorful way what they would look like. This is just a wash, a dark at the bottom and then turning lighter wash. And then the wash also came down, 3-colored wash on the top part. I have a horizon line. It looks like a snowy day. Here's another version of it. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that at all. And it really, really relieves the tension that sometimes we feel, especially those of us who are
Type A?
Driven, yeah, type A. Yes, okay, yeah, I admit that. Yes, I am type A, and I'm the oldest of 5 children from the Midwest. I mean, what can I tell you? We're not allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I've been trying for a long, long time to make as many mistakes as I can, and I've gotten really good at it. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm thinking, I just think about how many of us ever actually sit down and just play. We're always trying to figure out a painting. We're getting ready for a show or a commission or something. We never just take the time to have some fun. Even we go to a workshop, we're not playing. We're trying to finish a painting.
yes, absolutely true. Absolutely true. We don't ever just play. And so that's what I decided that I was going to learn how to do. I'm sorry, I'm a little OCD here too, because we need to get that out of the way because that
I
was
think
really
this would make a great workshop. This 3-day workshop with this would be awesome.
And next year it just may end up being one. You know. So here is another thing. I saw this painting It's actually a charcoal, pencil, ink, marker, wax crayon, and oil pastel on Strathmore Bristol board. Okay, so they used a whole lot more stuff than I did. But I thought, oh, that looks like fun to draw. So I used some ink. I drew it in ink, and then I just threw watercolor on it. But it was fun. And I'll never enter that into any kind of a show, but it was fun. Here is my body drawings. This is really fun to do also. You see the lines at the side, they indicate the proportions that a person normally is. And then you put in all your circles for joints. And then you can put in your wishful thinking of pecs and abs like that. But I don't know very many men that are looking like that, especially not where I live. They all kind of look more pregnant. Well, I live in old people's world, you know.
Oh.
Okay, so here you start out with a rectangle, and then you put a little circle on top, and then you make the bottom part of the rectangle, find the center, and slant the legs in. These are different shapes that you can start to make people in your landscapes or your cityscapes. These are architectural, and having been an architect and, as Ron said, a kitchen and bath designer, when we drew our pictures for the clients, we would throw people in to make them feel that it was less cold and draw them into the design. Well, that works in paintings as well. More people. I think I have, yeah, I have a lot more people. But I don't want to talk about them. Okay, so that's all that's in this book. But another fun thing that I've done and love to do is when I get new paints, I always make one of these. It's a map to what's inside. Okay, I will draw exactly. And no, I don't clean my palettes because that wastes paint. And besides, I'll only clean it between paintings, but this one I didn't bother even at the end. But here, this lid fits on here in exactly the same place as where these paints are drawn. But if you can see, you look at the paint, the dried paint in the palette, you can't really tell what those colors are. But when you look at the diagram, you can see it in its darkest form and in its lightest form. Plus, I've labeled it, and I know which brand it is. I put in the number W239, because did you know, only the number won't change. They can change, manufacturers can change the name of a hue easily anytime they feel like it, but they'll never change the number. So if you don't buy it for like 6 years and you can't find it again, look for the number on your tube and you may find it under a new name. But I do this for every single palette that I own. And I own probably 30 or 40 palettes because I have an obsession.
Where do you get your palettes? Which one?
Wherever I can.
Okay.
Sometimes online and sometimes at shows and sometimes, at art stores, whatever. This little palette here, I put it on the outside of the paper cover and I do keep it in that. This is a Lucas palette and the paints are in there, but I'll tell you what, this blue right here does not look like that. In the palette, it's so much darker, but it's not when you paint it. This one right here I would never guess that that was this color right there when it's in the palette. The brown and the black look very similar. Can you see that? Anyway, it helps me to know what I'm working with. Another thing that I do is if I get a new brush, I will take a scrap piece of paper. I will dip it into water and a paint hue at different levels of intensity. Some will be much darker, some will be much lighter. I will make every kind of mark that I can imagine I could make with that brush, because I'm getting to know that brush and seeing how it holds a point, or if it doesn't, will it make a nice straight line? Is it kind of ragged? There's purposes for every single different kind of brush, and I want to find out what this one can do. Let me see once. What else do I have?
Can we stop for a minute and see if there are any questions?
Please.
Do anybody have any questions? You can give them out loud or write them in, whichever you like. We'd love to hear from you. Well, keep going. I'm sure we'll have some come up here in a minute.
Okay. Let me see. I just went through that whole thing.
I know.
And I did it way too fast, I think. What else did I do at the convention? Okay, here's a woman in.
Yeah.
I'm going to undo this. Okay. And if I turn this off, now that won't be as much glare. Perfect. She's wearing a white suit, so it should be easier for you to see. But I will draw a circle for her her shoulders. Hood. Okay. If I put tracing paper down on it, it would be like, oh, actually, I have an extra one. Yay. Good. Okay, I'll put a tracing paper on her. So now I have her shoulders and elbow, her. Oops. And then, now that moved a little bit, but that's all right because you get the idea. You can draw to attach these. Now, understand that I'm drawing this holding a phone in my other hand.
That's fun to watch just there.
I know. Okay, and she has a hip bone and a hip bone, and you can make her pelvis. Oops, there. Okay. You just really need to get an indication. Oh man, that's so hard. Okay. And then you draw down, and her feet are off the page, but then she's got her neck and she's got her head. Okay, so now I've got this person over here.
Yeah, turn it the upside down.
Yep, yeah. I'm gonna go like this. It does pick up the pose. And if you want to, you can go up like this and get her waist in there. Mm-hmm. But now that person, you're no longer copying this person. And you could make this into a man or a woman or any character in history. You know, you can put a purse in their hand or a bag of some sort, groceries. You could put a pet. Anything you want.
I really like that. I've never seen that before done, so that's a newbie for me.
Well, it's because I made it up when I was putting this workshop together or this demo together.
Well, that's good.
uh, yeah, I just thought, that would be a fun thing to do. And
Mhm.
it really is because, like I said, for me, this is helpful because I do this naturally and have always have along the line in my painting career because I need to change you if I paint you. In other words, what I said earlier, if you are thin, you're not going to be. So don't get offended, but you're going to gain a lot of weight without the benefit of the enjoyment of eating that food. I'm just going to make you big and puffy. And because I love that character, and well, that characterization of a person. And same thing if I might take this and make this person gaunt, totally thin. I might move this hip. I might, right now, it would be very easy for me to move these hips in and make this like this. And now I have a whole much smaller
Mhm.
person.